So thus far, we have given a short presentation on a figure from Breishit, the first parsha, a righteous figure who, on the positive side, represents a desire for self-improvement and the faith in one God, and on the negative side, did not strive to influence others in this direction, hence depriving them of a kind of spiritual love. And indeed, it is the essence of love, because it is what I want to do to make someone else's life better, and how much I care about others and whom I care about. In the case of Noach, it wasn't really anybody besides himself. We'll move to parshiot Noah, and he represents an improvement. Noach ish tzaddik, he was also a righteous man. Not only did he believe in God, but he avoided all the thieving and corruption in interhuman relationships that really signed the negative decree for the generation of the flood. Now, building the ark, we see, took 120 years. Why did it take so long? So Rashi again explains that it was a PR move. It was supposed to attract attention. So people ask, what are you doing? And he was supposed to explain to them that God is reaching out to us, that we better our ways to avoid the catastrophe that will happen if we don't. Like all good prophets, the hope is that the prophecy will not be fulfilled. But it is sure that Noah communicated with people, taught them about God, taught them about improvement, taught them what they were doing wrong. He conveyed the message. He went outside of himself, and so doing took the first step in love. But what he didn't do is extend himself in terms of what the results that he got. In other words, there was an interaction, but it was reaching out as a function of how he can maintain his own righteousness. In other words, Noach understood what Hanoch did not, which is that the righteous person cannot be an island. He must reach out to others. But the reaching out to others was not primarily motivated by an interest in their well-being, but rather, in a sense, kind of checking off one of the things you need to do to be a righteous person. It was kind of a subset of his own righteousness. And that's why he did not so much persist in terms of the result, because for him it was the act of reaching out that was important, and not as much the interest in the quality of the other person's life. Had that been the primary interest, he would have persisted until he would have succeeded in some cases. And here we introduce kind of a paradox, which is Noach was less self-absorbed than Hanoch, and the more the individual is able to subjugate his own ego, the more effective he becomes in reaching out to others, and more specifically, the more his words are received and believed and accepted by others. Because people want to have benefit, people want to be happy. And they're willing to take input from others, but only if the input is going to bring them this happipiness. And there is a trust issue there. It will, if that person really wants what's good for me, if I trust him on that, then I'm going to also follow the advice. But if there's a lack of trust there, I don't see the true, sincere interest in me, then it's not going to be there, then I won't accept it. When will I feel there's a lack of this interest in me? When I see the person is interested in himself. So, we have gone through Noah, and now we're going to bring ourselves to the parsha of this week, which was today. It has been read already. Lech Lecha. And in Lech Lecha we introduce the figure of Avraham, who begins the Torah reading as Avram, without the Ha, without the H. And the H is added, the letter Hey, as a result of his Brit Milah, his circumcision, with which he became whole. And Avraham was an entirely different figure. We know that Abraham, Kabbalistically as well, parallels the Sephirah, the attribute of chesed, of love. He is legendary for performing acts of kindness. We will see in this week's parshiot begins with him welcoming guests, Vayera. He doesn't know who they are. He thinks that they're pagans, idolaters. He wants them to stay. And at the same time, he is actively involved in promoting the material welfare of others as manifested in his hospitality. But we also see that he who has rediscovered monotheism is passionately involved in propagating that as well. We see it in the Torah, but we also, it's the Midrash and the Talmud is full, but indeed, as we'll read in the coming week, it says, Vayikra, B'Shem Hashem Ke'elam, he called in the name of God, the God of the world. And the Talmud understands it with an alternate reading. Do not read, and he called, but rather he caused others to call Vayakri, which can be done with the same letters using the causative with the revocalization. And as we approach now Vayera, this week's parsha, which we'll read coming Saturday morning, the week to come, the Midrash describes his hospitality, that he would give people food and drink in the desert where it was very difficult to do so. And then when he would present them with a bill, which the people would find prohibitive, which means too expensive, so he said, in this case, bless the one who spoke and the world was created. So even his material help was a way of trying to forward their spiritual well-being as well. And he succeeded. And he spread the name of God. He was a very successful teacher. He had many, many adherents. But nonetheless, we will illustrate in a moment that even his love was not the ultimate. And the reason is that, on the one hand, he was keenly and sincerely interested in the well-being of others. Secondly, he understood that it involves also influencing them in the spiritual level. And he involved himself in that influence using both spiritual and material means. But his goal was to transform the individual, and hence, although this transformation was in the benefit of the individual, and of course Avram understood it was something that will benefit the world, his efforts were in that direction, and so he was, in a sense, successful, or the love was meaningful to the extent that it had the correct effect of transforming a person. But if it did not have this effect, then in a sense, his efforts, he did not see them as being successful. In other words, there was a kind of conditionality there, where the individual can say, you don't really love me, you love the vision of what I can become in potential. Which on the one hand is very nice, but we will see that first of all, there can be even a higher level than that. And this even higher level, where the individual is loved not for what he can become, but even for what he already is, can even be a more powerful motor for personal change for that second individual. And that will be in the next clip.